Welcome to the Power Off series. Today we're going over the power of Sergeant James Heller, the second prototype, and the most pissed off father you'll ever meet. James was a dedicated father and a proud Marine, embodying the qualities of loyalty and bravery. One night, while on a mission, his squad was ambushed, and he was captured. When he regained consciousness, he found himself imprisoned in a cell deep within a Blackwatch testing bunker. With determination and resourcefulness, he managed to break free, only to discover the corridor teeming with the infected. Despite the chaos, he bravely rescued his fellow soldiers. However, the ordeal took a darker turn, with the soldiers he saved demanding that James execute a scientist involved with the experiments in the bunker. Refusing to compromise his principles, James declined. His defiance was met with a treacherous response. He was drugged, and upon waking, his superior officer falsely informed him that he had been hit by a sniper bullet. In reality, James had failed a clandestine Blackwatch test, much to the secret relief of his commanding officer. As time passed, tragedy struck. His family was brutally attacked and killed by the infected, fueling a burning desire for vengeance against Alex Mercer, the source of the virus. Driven by his unrelenting rage, James volunteered for deployment to the Red Zone, the heart of the infected area. In the Red Zone, James finally confronted Alex Mercer. Despite his courage, he was no match for Alex Mercer. In a twist of fate, Alex chose to infect James with the Black Light virus instead of killing him. After enduring excruciating tests and torture, James awoke to discover he had acquired extraordinary powers as a byproduct of the Black Light infection. Well, you and I are both in luck, as I don't have to go over the absurd library of powers James would have, as everything Alex has, he too would have. If you are curious about Alex's abilities, watch my Alex Mercer vs Albert Wesker video. And now we can get straight into the scaling, which will hopefully keep you ungrateful bastards' attention and not click off, as I'm not going over powers. No, it's not like chapters exist or nothing people could press if they didn't want to watch hours of hard work and scan collecting, but I digress. Let's jump into where this cannibal corpse scales. Okay, this redux will be slightly different than how I manage Alex's scaling, as this time I'm not going to be holding people's hand and going in gently. We're jumping right into the good shit with ruthless aggression, as I've recalculated everything again. Before we begin, I will address a few things in the scaling that will impact where James sits. Firstly, thanks to the Hunter's profile in the Primer Guide and other subsequent statements, we know when Black-like creatures consume something, they get stronger, as well as have the ability to get stronger during combat, as well as Alex, and should be vice versa for James. Every time they interact with the infected grow stronger, they grow more capable, and take on more of his type of characteristics, as stated by Kelly Smack, president of Radical Entertainment.
The other two factions are the infected. The infected, for some reason, are being driven or motivated, either to destroy him or capture him, he's not quite sure. But every time he interacts with them, they seem to grow stronger, they seem to grow more capable, they seem to take on more of his type of characteristics.
This is very important, as this would mean any Black-like creatures or evolved he consumes and interacts with should be comparable in strength and speed to James, meaning each time he consumes, he'd be getting a 2 times increase in stats. Now he consumes around 30 creatures and evolved. This does not mean he is only 30 times where he started. No. The way it would work is, he consumes 1 creature, he becomes twice as strong as his base, and the next time, 2 times again, and again, etc. etc. Why should we take the Primer Guide at its word? Because, thanks to the Hunter's profile in one's guidebook found under Anomalies and Obscure Classificational Information, this entire section is filled with information regarding the true nature of every single major entity and character you interact with, meaning everything in these profiles are absolutely true, meaning we cannot call the Hunter's profile into scrutiny. To add extra weight to this, there is a video that I have verified is real, where Potato Man goes through this DM log with Eric Holmes. Secondly is his muscle mass. This would only apply to his AP and not speed, as there is no evidence that it would make him quicker, meaning at the end of the calculation results you would need to add 4 to 6 times depending on what you buy. With those 2 things out of the way, let's get into it. So if you're familiar with my Alex video, you would know Alex is at least half the power, if not a little stronger than the bomb that was going to glass Manhattan. Thanks to the Supreme Hunter's statements of being able to withstand the blast after consuming Alex, last time I gave a vague C level range on the power of the bomb, but this time I've chosen 3 variables to determine where he could sit. Think of them as my low, middle, and high ball, if you will. My low ball consists of a statement the game credits give us, which was 5 times the strength of the little boy bomb that on the 6th of August, 1945 deep fried the city.
News 1 has confirmed that a nuclear weapon of unknown origin has detonated 10 to 15 miles offshore of southern Manhattan. Estimates place it at roughly 5 times the size of the bomb dropped at Hiroshima.
My middle is what Death Battle used. Yeah, I get the irony. For as much as they got disgustingly wrong, I'm using their calc. Bite me. I need a middle calculation. And finally, my highball is what the Versus Wiki has for the bomb calculation thread. James will be scaled to Alex at the end of Prototype 1 after the first Goliath fight, as he is able to fend off Alex. So after going through all the calculations, this is what James got by the end of Prototype 2. At the end of the game's credits calculation, James sits at Island level. At the end of the Death Battle calculations, James sits at Large Island level. And finally, the Versus Battle Wiki's calculations gets James to Small Country level. So using the bomb meta gets James to a low end of Island level, while at a high end, Small Country level. If you hate hearing Prototype gets to Small Country, don't worry, you'll really think I'm fucking nuts in a minute. You might have noticed I haven't moved onto Speed. There is a very good reason for this, because I'm not done with AP. No, not just yet. What I'm about to tell you will probably make most people want to send me to the gallows or hang me in a gibbet for the sport of crows. Are you ready for the new meta? Let me introduce you and welcome you to the age of the star level meta. Forget that weak moon level stuff.
You don't need this damn thing anymore.
All hail the star level meta. I cannot take the credit for discovering the star level meta. In fact, if William D. Weber never showed me this meta, I would have finished the video and I'd be none the wiser that this feat ever existed. Oh, and by the by, I've corroborated that this feat exists. In fact, the footage you're seeing is a mixture of my own and William's own footage. Alex, when he uses his powers, not only makes thick clouds come overhead, but also moves the very sun itself. Now I know people's knee-jerk response is to scream outlier like a bitch, because they won't like that this feat exists. But before I tell you where the star meta level gets to, let me address something that I've had quite a big bug up my ass about for quite a while. Outliers, and how they are treated in the power scaling community. People scream outlier all the time for feats that they don't like a character having, but let me explain why not only how the community uses the term wrong, but by all rights shouldn't use it, period. So the community treats the word as if it's something that a character cannot do, but that it isn't what an outlier is. Whether you're using it in a statistical sense, which is what most power scalers use it as, hold on, I'll address this in due time, environmental, or what say you. An outlier is an improbability, not impossibility. Even in statistical data, they still show outliers, only getting rid of them to make the results look better on paper. But why doesn't the statistical outlier work in power scaling? Well, this is because if we were to use and obey this term properly, which practically everyone who uses it doesn't, you wouldn't believe in a low, middle, or high ball, only the numerical constant. In other words, you'd believe preponderance makes the consistent tier. Let me give you an example. What preponderance makes a consistent tier means. Let's say you had a character who had 10 town level feats, 5 planet feats, and 25 building feats. Where would you scale them? Now, some would say planet, others town. But if you truly believed in outlier, the numerical constant, you would actually say the character is building level, as only the numerical constant matters. Feel that? That gross feeling to hearing that? Let me do one more. Let's say you had 24 town level feats, 24 planet feats, and 25 building feats. Where do they scale? Normally you would say planet, definitively, right? Right? No. If you believe in using statistical outlier for power scaling, it would be wrong, as that isn't a numerical constant. Building is a numerical constant, and the other two, no matter how consistent, would be deemed outliers and excluded, as they aren't numerical constant. But no one uses outliers like this, because if you did, the fucking community would kill you! So even if an outlier is just one number off from the numerical constant, it's still deemed an outlier and excluded. This misuse of the term undermines its credibility in power scaling discussions, often leading to cherry picking to support one's position. So this is why I don't use outliers when talking about power scaling, especially since we have instances of characters and verses getting upgraded off one feat or statement, while others have to bite, crawl, and pull people kicking and screaming, even if they have several feats backing them up. Bottom line, outlier, like Death of the Author, is a cherry-picking tool that no one uses correctly, because if they did, it sure as shit wouldn't support their position. A good video by my friends Zimmertorn and Mr. Mangler covered Death of the Author, will be in the description below. Okay, I'm done with my rant, let's continue. We know Alex is affecting the sun, as I said earlier. He can do this with all of his powers, and when he consumes someone, this means even if you wanted to call outlier, you really can't, because each weapon and power does this, making it consistent. So if you remember how I got the bomb calc, I'll be using the same method to determine where James sits. But let's establish something first. Alex could do this feat once he got his first power, which was the claws. So for James, I started the calc when he first gained claws, and worked my way from there. So by the end of James' Corpse Grinder Hell is Rain and Blood, he sits at multi-galaxy. No, you didn't hear me wrong. I said multi-galaxy. And if you don't like it,
Off! It's a direction you can fuck!
And now we conclude the AP section. Trust me, you're not the only one who thought that was nuts. But now we can move on to speed, which will probably garner me just as much hate, but fuck it, let's have a crack. In terms of travel speed, Hela has already shown superhuman feats of speed, even without being infected, as he could outrun a Goliath. The Goliath's attacks are stated in the prototype 2 art book to be lightning speed. This would also include his charging attack, meaning a base James Hela with no virus, no amps, can already move at massively hypersonic speeds. After doing all the calculations using the scaling method used in the earlier AP section, surprise surprise, they can all keep up with him. So in terms of speed, by the end of Prototype 2, James gets to, yes, exactly what I thought. Massively faster than light plus. Well, isn't that fun? Yes, I'm sure that previous calculation is not going to garner me any hate whatsoever. Oh well, moving forward, with the lightspeed meta, based off Alex being able to outrun Elizabeth Green's viral shockwave that is stated to be infectious energy, and because we don't know what kind of energy it is, if we use Occam's razor, it would be pure energy, which would be lightspeed. This should be consistent as the Medusa's Wrath is an actual laser. Now unlike the lightning meta, we start James' calc off after his fight with the first Goliath fight, as he could fend off Alex, meaning he should be comparable, if not stronger than Alex during the end of Prototype 1, thus the speed we get is, how nice, it's also massively faster than Light Plus. So in the end, whether you wish to use the Lightning or Light meta, irregardless, James sits at massively faster than Light Plus. Now we move on to reaction. Now if you're still watching, white-knuckled, teeth grinded to the gums, or not, good for you. Well done, son, for coming this far. Bear with me just a titch longer, we're almost finished. When Alex or James consumes people, he is stunned for a second, but to be truthful, less than, if at all, as this is backed up by stealth consumes and the comic. But we have to address one last thing that bugs me, so why is this perception feat usable for reaction, you may be asking me. Well, with a lot of things in the power scaling community, this is one of the things that I also have a massive bug up my ass about as well. You see, people in the community treat perception feats as inferior to reaction. Now to be fair, in some very select cases, this is true, but not all the time for every verse. I see perception and reaction as the same unless shown otherwise. For example, let's say we have a verse that doesn't show the difference between perception and reaction, in comparison to one that does. For example, Naruto. In the case of Naruto, there is a clear difference shown, thus we can treat perception and reaction differently, while verses like Bakugan, Bleach, and Fist of the North Star don't, so we shouldn't treat them as different. Bottom line, perception to reaction should be treated on a case-to-case basis, not with a starting position of opposition. I actually don't need to use the scaling meta to get his reaction speed, thank fuck. as this is based off Green having billions of years of knowledge, thanks to the scan in the Prototype 1 Primer Guide showing black light was around since the dawn of life on Earth being the thing that fuels evolution. And as Alex consumed her, gaining all of her knowledge, and as James consumed Alex, he too gets this speed. So with that being said, James's reaction time sits at massively faster than light plus. Consistent speed across the board. Keep in mind I use 1 to 5 seconds as the basis, but I can make the argument it should take even less time thanks to the stealth consuming comic. But I'm not going to do that. I think these variables sit just in the right spot to prove my point. So in conclusion, James hits anywhere from small country to multi-galaxy, while his speed is just fucking blatantly massively faster than light plus across the board. I hope I showed you how much people sleep on Prototype and this overlord of violence. With that being said, thank you, and have a good day.
Cut!
And if you don't like it, you can take your whiny, sniveling, snot-nosed populations, form a line behind me, and kiss my... We're still on? Well, turn it off, you idiot!